Hello everyone and welcome to Grounded Slow Flow Deep Stretch. We will get started together on our spines in a reclined position. So slowly starting to make your way there now. And anything goes with your legs and arms. So once you are reclined, maybe feet stay flat on the mat, knees bent up to the ceiling. Maybe you lengthen the legs out long on your mat, feet flop out to the sides, taking like a mini shavasana here to begin. If you want more of a hip opener, to begin, you can find Supta Baddha Konasana, soles of the feet come to touch, and bent knees fall apart. Arms can be long and out to the sides, palms up to the ceiling. Let your head feel heavy, melting into the mat. And either close your eyes or pick one single point of focus, gazing up to focus on. This is a very healing practice for both the body and the mind. The body benefits from movement, while the mind benefits from stillness. So we'll be here for a few minutes, creating some peace and quiet in the mind before we begin to move the body. Today, in this video, we will build heat in the body. We will move slowly from pose to pose. We will experience the benefits of holding these poses for a little longer than we typically would in a Vinyasa Flow class, which gives us time for those areas of the body to release and allowing us to go deeper into postures. Also giving ourselves time to find deep breathing along the way. If you find yourself in a challenging or uncomfortable pose today, as long as it is not painful or too uncomfortable, try to stick with it and breathe through it. Let your breath help you. Moving through your practice with complete and fluid inhales and exhales. And beginning to find those deep, full inhales and exhales now. Deep, full, complete inhale as you breathe in all the way to the top, sip in all the air that you can. And exhale, everything softens, pressing all the air out. Keep going just like that. Maybe you add or cultivate Ujjayi yogic breath. Start to breathe in and out of the nose. This breathing technique creates an audible sound on the exhale as you constrict the back of the throat. And that audible sound that breathing technique makes helps keep the mind focused and present. Keep with those full and complete rounds of breath in and out. Take one more full round of breath here. And then coming out of this, taking a full body stretch, reach arms overhead, encouraging those knees back together if you were in Supta Baddha Konasana. And then start to hug the knees into chest, curl up into a ball, give yourself a big hug, a big squeeze. You can stay in stillness or rock side to side. We're going to meet in a comfortable seat facing the front. So however it makes the most sense for you, start to make your way up to that comfortable seat. Sits bones grounded, nice long spine, sitting up tall, soften the shoulders. And we'll add some neck stretches. So grab the left wrist behind you, encourage it over to the right side body, and then let your right ear melt over towards the right shoulder, getting that neck stretch. You can stay in stillness, maybe head slightly rotates forward and back a few times. Come back up through center and just switch. So right wrist to the left side, left ear towards left shoulder, taking that neck stretch on this side. Come back up through center, meeting in tabletop position, hands and knees. So making your way there, and start to move through rounds of cats and cows with your breath. Inhale, belly drops, open the chest, look up for cow pose. And exhale, hands press into the mat, round through the spine, engage through the low belly, tucking chin to chest for cat pose. Inhale, belly drops for cow. Opening up through the chest. And exhale, rounding through the spine. After you've done that a few times, move with your breath. Any other intuitive movements that might feel nice here, anything that would help you warm up the spine, wake up the body. Doesn't matter what it looks like, just really notice how this feels from the inside out. Notice what your body might be craving in this moment, hip side to side, forward and back. Wrist stretches are always a great option. Flipping one palm upside down, then the other, rotating fingertips back to face your knees. Lots of options. Few more rounds of breath here, taking your intuitive movements. And we'll sit back for a double toe squat or double toe stretch. So tuck under all 10 toes, hips sit back towards your heels. And we'll add reverse prayer, hands up the back here. So palms can either come to touch behind you, fingertips can be up to face your head or down to your toes. If that's no good for your wrists, you can knock knuckles behind you, making fists. It's getting that same shoulder rotation we're trying to get here. Maybe close your eyes, come back to those full and complete breaths we found at the beginning. And start to come out of this, crawl your way back forward through a tabletop position. You can tap out the tops of the feet. And preparing for thread the needle, reach the right arm either out to the side or up to the ceiling. And then thread that arm underneath you. Come to rest on the right shoulder, right ear. Keep those hips lifted over the knees. That left hand can stay by your face or it can walk up towards the top of your mat, getting this twist in the spine. And start to press yourself back up through center, tabletop. And simply switching sides, left arm reaches and lengthens. Threading it, wrapping underneath you, come to rest on left ear, left shoulder. Same options go with that right hand on this side. Getting that twist in the spine. Keep tops of feet engaged, pressing into the mat. And start to press yourself back up through tabletop. Coming into a modified plank position, walk your hands forward about a hand's length. Good, shift it forward, shoulders over wrists. Hug the elbows into the sides and lower all the way to the belly, nice and slow. We're coming into Sphinx pose for a back bend. Come onto forearms, elbows a little forward of the shoulders, fingertips spread wide, opening up through the chest. Engage through the thighs, press the tops of feet into the mat, maybe knees lift up. And start to lower down. Come to rest on your right ear. Hands can stay up by your face, or you can lengthen them long by your sides to take a rest for a moment. Moving into our second back bend cobra, hands underneath your shoulders this time. And on an inhale, lifting up here. Using spinal strength to lift up. You're not using your hands as much to press you. They're just there for support. Test that for a moment. Lift and hover hands. And lower down. Take a rest on your left ear this time. Get as much of that left ear grounded on the mat as you can. Bring those hands underneath your shoulders once again. Press up through tabletop. Hands and knees. And then we'll sit back for a child's pose. Toes come to touch. Knees will be apart for this one, sinking your hips back towards your heels, walking hands towards the top of the mat, lengthening through the sides of the body, melting chest and forehead towards the mat. Soften shoulders away from your ears, nice long spine. And come back to your breath. The breath is always present. Start to walk your hands over to the right side of your mat. Maybe left palm stacks on top to make this deeper, taking a side body stretch. And walk those hands back through center. And simply switching sides, walk them over to the left side of your mat. Good. Keep pressing lightly that right hip towards the right heel, side body stretch. And walk those hands back through center. Come up through tabletop, hands and knees. And preparing for our first downward facing dog of class, tuck under your toes. Dip your hips back towards your heels. Fingertips are spread wide and equally press off of hands and feet. Hips high, down dog, curling tailbone up to the ceiling. You can start to pedal out your feet here. Walk your dog. Bend one knee, melt the opposite heel to the mat. And then switching as fast or slow as you'd like. And then come into stillness in your down dog. Ujjayi breath, breathing in and out of the nose. Come high up on your toes. Take a deep bend in your knees. Hover those knees just an inch or two off the mat. Curl the tailbone even more up to the ceiling. Lift and spread those sitting bones. Press back into the legs. Down dog. And start to make your way to the top of the mat. You can tiptoe, step, or hop your way there. Feet meet hands. Inhale, halfway lift when you get there, and start to heel toe your feet out about mat's width, landing with heels and toes out. Options here, you can move into catcher's pose, take a bend in your knees, hips sit back, hands to heart center and elbows can rest on the tops of your thighs here. Or you can sit down or sit back for Hindi squat malasana, elbows to the inside of the knees. Hips towards the earth, nice long spine. And palm the mat, hips high, forward fold, let it go. And we'll hang out here in a forward fold for a few rounds of breath. Knees can be bent a little or a lot. Maybe your chest is resting on your thighs. Let your head hang heavy. If that feels difficult today, you feel like you're holding a lot of tension in the head and neck, shake your head yes and no, letting all of that wash away. Release hands back down to the mat. Inhale, halfway lift to lengthen the spine. Hands can always come to shins for that. And exhale, refold. Palm the mat and lunge the left foot to the back of the mat for a grounded runner's lunge. So hands frame the front foot. Try to find a lift in your chest here. And then finding any micro movements, you can shift forward and back, maybe hip side to side slightly. Good. Taking some of those small movements. And then settle in for a few rounds of breath. You can cast your gaze down. Moving into intense leg stretch, hop that back foot up a little bit to shorten your stance. Work towards 2 straight legs. We want hands to be comfortably grounded on something. If you have yoga blocks, this is a great place for them under your hands if the ground seems really far away. Square off the hips and fold forward. Again, let the head be heavy, releasing all tension out of the head and neck. Coming out of this, you can start by lengthening your stance and softly lower onto that back knee. Untuck the toes, diagonal quad stretch. Keep the left hand planted down. The right hand is going to come back for that foot behind you, gently encouraging heel to glute, getting that quad stretch. Top of that left thigh. You can keep this in more of a twisting shape, or you can square off shoulders to the front of your mat and begin to fold forward. If you have the space, maybe coming onto that left elbow, left forearm. So lots of options here. And without flinging, let go of that foot. Moving into an IT band stretch, you can start to heel toe that right foot out to the side. And then just gently encouraging that knee open and out. One more breath. Coming back up through center, heel toe that foot back through center, hands frame the front foot. Tuck under those back toes, lift off that back knee, grounded runner's lunge as a transition, preparing to turn on our mat, a quarter turn. Walk with your hands 90 degrees. We're now facing the long side of our mat into a left side lunge, left toes out to the corner of the mat. And take a bend in that left knee. Maybe the left elbow comes to the inside of that knee, encouraging it open and out for that hip opener. You can stay more lifted or sink your hips towards that left heel, making it deeper. Working your way back up through center. Take a breath in the middle. And simply switching sides. For a right side lunge, right toes out to the corner. Take a bend in that knee. Hands can stay grounded here. Long spine. You can stay more lifted in this version, or maybe sinking those hips closer to that heel. Either way, we're encouraging that right knee open and out to the side. Coming back through center, 2 straight legs. Take a breath. Quarter turn, walk with your hands back to face the front of your mat. Plank pose, top of a push-up. And we'll lower to our knees, modified plank. Hug those elbows in, lower to the belly, nice and slow. Keep hands where they are underneath your shoulders. Lift up for cobra, our back bend. Exhale, back down, tuck under the toes. Press through tabletop and hips high, down dog. Pause when you get there. Come back to your breath. And starting to make your way to the top, feet meet hands, however you'd like to get there. Take your time. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, refold. Ragdoll arms is an option here. Release hands to the mat. Inhale, halfway lift again. Soft bend in the knees to lunge the right toes to the back of your mat. For our grounded runner's lunge on this side, Stay high on those back toes, getting into that back hip flexor and taking any of those small movements you'd like here to settle in. Hips forward and back, shifting side to side. And once you're ready, finding stillness. Intense leg stretch, hop that back foot up a little bit. Shorten your stance, 2 straight legs. All 10 toes face the front. Hands are comfortably grounded, either on the mat if they reach. Maybe one day they will. Yoga blocks are great here. And when you're ready, folding forward. Head is heavy, long spine. Good. Come back through a grounded runner's lunge. Lower softly onto that back knee. Untuck the toes, diagonal quad stretch, right hand stays down. Windmill that left hand for that back foot. If you have that binding connection, gently pulling and encouraging that heel to glute. Getting that quad stretch here. You can stay lifted and open more to the side of the room, more of a twist variation. If you like, you can face more front, lower onto that right forearm. Again, just options. Go where is best for you, where it feels most natural in your body today. Without flinging, let go of that foot if you caught hold. Moving into our IT band stretch. So start to heel toe that foot out to the side. Maybe spin onto the outer blade of that foot. And then gently pressing that knee away from you. Start to heel toe that foot back through center. Grounded runner's lunge, tuck under those back toes, lift off that back knee. And quarter turn, walk with your hands facing the long side of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift to lengthen. And exhale, Prasarita Padottanasana A. Wide-legged fold through center. Walk those hands back to be in line with your feet. Elbows bent back behind you like we do in our yoga chaturanga push-ups. Pressing hands into the mat, encourage crown of the head closer. And inhale, come up out of this halfway lift. Quarter turn back to face the front of the mat. Plank pose, top of a push-up. Lower onto your knees. Hug elbows into the side, lower all the way to the belly. On your inhale, cobra. Exhale, forehead back down. Press through tabletop. Tuck under the toes and hips high, down dog. Ujjayi breath, breathing in and out of the nose. And start to make your way to the top of the mat. Feet meet hands. Inhale, halfway lift. Stay in your half lift. Bring hands to your waist. And clasp hands back behind you. Open up through your chest and shoulders. Exhale to refold. Maybe letting those hands fall off of your low back. Getting that added shoulder stretch here as you fold forward. Waterfall over your legs. Start to release out of the arms and hands. Hands back down to the mat. Inhale, halfway lift once again. And palm the mat, soft bend in the knees. Lunge the left foot to the back of your mat. Come on to that back knee and untuck the toes. for a low lunge. So making sure that front knee is stacked directly over that front ankle and heel. And making any micro movements here. Small movements with the hips side to side. And then preparing to settle in for a few rounds of breath. Cast your gaze down, hands frame the front foot. Getting that deeper stretch into that back hip flexor. And coming up out of this into half splits. So start to shift your hips high and straight over that back knee, working towards a right straight leg. Again, making any micro movements here with the hips, maybe pointing or flexing that front foot. Just notice how that gives you a different sensation. And just like an intense leg stretch, let those hands be comfortably grounded somewhere. Maybe blocks, maybe they reach the mat. And folding forward. Being here for a few rounds of breath. One more deep round of breath. And start to come up here. Crawl your hands forward and move your arms and hands to the inside of that front leg and foot. Moving into lizard. Keeping this passive. Stay on that back knee. Back foot is untucked. You can stay on your hands here, getting this deep hip stretch. If you have the space, maybe you lower onto one elbow or forearm, maybe both. Lower to the mat, encouraging that right shoulder below the right knee. And try to keep that knee close to your body. Using hands to press up here. Moving into deer pose or pigeon, start to heel toe that front foot across the top of your mat. Coming down to a seat, you can sit over towards that right hip and really trying to get that right shin parallel to the top of your mat. Flex that top foot. That protects that bent knee. And that back leg can be straight behind you, more of a pigeon shape, or it can be bent a little or a lot, more of a deer pose shape. Once your legs are where you want them and set up, starting to fold forward a little or a lot. You can rest elbows on the mat, cupping your forehead into your hands for support, maybe stacking palms, making a pillow for your forehead. Maybe the forehead one day reaches all the way to the mat. And settle in here. Let go. Breathing into anywhere you might be holding on to tension or tightness. Focus on those areas. Let the breath help you breathe relaxation into that space. And having no expectations of what this should feel like or look like. Just be and breathe. Take 2 more rounds of breath. And slowly, when you're ready, use your hands to roll up through the spine nice and slow. Let the head be the last thing to come up. Good. You can start to encourage that right heel closer to the hips. Tuck under those back toes. Come through a grounded runner's lunge just as a transition. And take a quarter turn on your mat facing the long side of the mat. All 10 toes face the long side. Keep the right hand planted down under your face. And taking a twist in the spine, opening up to the back of the room. That hand can stay lifted up to the ceiling. Maybe it comes to your low back for support. Maybe it wraps around your low back, reaching for the inner right thigh for a half bind. Release out of this. Come back through center and take a breath. Just switching, left hand stays down, twisting open to the front. And same options go with that lifted arm and hand. Shifting a little more weight into the balls of your feet, getting out of those heels. That will make this stretch deeper for the back of the legs. Release the arms back down to the mat. Take a breath. And walk with your hands quarter turn back to face the front. And take a belly down vinyasa nice and slow with your breath. You can keep it modified or full plank, lower through your push-up. Inhale to your back bend, could be Sphinx, Cobra, or Up Dog. And exhale, hips high, press back to Down Dog. Pause when you get there. Breathing in and out of the nose, Ujjayi yogic breath. Deep, full, complete rounds of breath. And start to make your way to the top. Feet meet hands, tiptoe step or hop. Once you're there, inhale, halfway lift to lengthen the spine. And clasp those hands back behind you. And exhale to refold, waterfall over those legs. Getting into that shoulder stretch, second time here. Maybe you feel that the shoulders are more open this time. Letting those hands fall up off your low back. Good, release hands back down. On your inhale, halfway lift to lengthen. Soft bend in the knees, lunge the right toes to the back of the mat. For our low lunge on this side, come onto the back knee, untuck the toes, make sure that front knee is directly over heel and ankle. Make any of those micro movements with the hips. Find a nice place where your body can let go naturally here, where it feels comfortable. And settle in, cast your gaze down, maybe even close your eyes. Begin to come up out of your low lunge, shifting back for half splits. Hips high and straight over that right knee, working towards a left straight leg. Let those hands be grounded comfortably somewhere. Maybe point and flex the front foot. Choose whether you want that front foot to be pointed or flexed. And when you're ready, coming into stillness, folding forward over that front leg. Take 2 more rounds of breath here. And start to come up out of your fold. Crawl your hands to the top. For lizard, move that left arm to the inside of that left leg. You can stay on your hands. Perfect place to stay. If you want to take it deeper, maybe lowering onto one elbow or both elbows. Getting shoulders lower than that left knee. Deep hip stretch on this side. And when you're ready to come up, use hands to press back up if you went lower. And start to heel toe that front foot across the top of your mat. Come to sit over towards the left hip for pigeon. Front shin is parallel to the top of the mat. Flex that foot. Back leg can stay straight behind you, or it can be bent a little or a lot. Taking time here to get the leg set up. There is no rush. And when you're ready, folding forward, Find a great place for that forehead to rest in your hands, on stacked palms. Maybe use yoga blocks if you have them. Really trying to get the forehead grounded here for support. And notice, how are your thoughts here? Are the thoughts in your mind kind? Are they without judgment? Just notice, and if the mind is racing or fluttering with thoughts, shoo them away. Trying to stay present. Present on your mat, in your body, with your breath. Shooing away any outside thoughts. And slowly starting to come up out of this, use your hands on each side to roll up, press up through the spine. Head comes up last. Encourage that left heel to the hips. Tuck under those back toes. Come up through a grounded runner's lunge, best effort. And quarter turn to face the long side of your mat. All 10 toes face the long side. For our second and last wide-legged folds, if you have a favorite version of this yogi's choice, you can certainly take that. Maybe you take a wide-legged down dog arms version. Biceps frame your ears. And starting to come back up out of this, halfway lift through center. And walk hands back to face the front, quarter turn. Step back to plank or modified plank. Move through a belly down vinyasa. Hug elbows in, lower down, halfway or all the way to the belly. Inhale for your back bend, open up through the chest. And exhale, press back, down dog. Pause when you get there. Keep breathing in and out of the nose. And we'll lower down onto hands and knees, tabletop position. We'll sit back for Virasana, hero's pose. So knees come close together or touching, separate the feet apart behind you. And we're sitting to the inside of the heels and the feet. So a great place to sit, hips on yoga blocks, maybe a pillow or a blanket if you have that at home. And we'll add eagle arms. Lengthen out the arms, crossing right underneath the left. You can stay hugging shoulders or maybe cross at the wrist, palms touch. On your inhale, lift those fingertips up to the ceiling. Exhale, encourage elbows to the belly. Good, back up through center. Lengthen arms wide out to the sides. We'll just switch. Left arm wraps underneath the right. Deep cross in the arms. Stay hugging shoulders or cross at the wrist. Palms touch. Inhale, fingertips slightly up to the ceiling. And exhale, elbows to belly. Back up through center. And release the arms. Come back out through tabletop. And you can take some ankle rolls here. You can extend one leg, extend those toes to the back of your mat, pulse into that heel, and then switch sides. Might be nice compensation after that super deep bend in the knees we had in Virasana. Meeting in plank pose, top of a push-up. And nice and controlled, lower all the way to the belly. Coming into Sphinx pose to set up for a quad stretch, half frog. Start by kickstanding the left forearm parallel to the top of the mat. The right hand is going to come back for the right foot or ankle. And gently encouraging heel to glute, maybe to the outside of the hip, outer hip. If you want more into the shoulders, you can encourage the elbow up to the ceiling, rotate fingertips out to the side of the room, and back to be in the same direction as your toes, facing the front of the mat. You can stay more propped upright on that front arm, more of a back bend shape, or you could lower down towards the mat. Release that foot, and we're coming into crocodile. Stack one palm on top of the other, make a pillow for your forehead, and rest on the mat. Coming back up through Sphinx pose onto forearms, and setting up for the other side for half frog for our quad stretch. Kickstand the right forearm parallel to the top of the mat. The left hand is going to come back for left foot or ankle. And gently pulling heel to glute, maybe to the outer hip. You can stay propped upright on that front arm, more of a back bend shape. Maybe elbow up to the ceiling. If you want to be more folded forward in that version, you can certainly move there. So find your shape. Without flinging, let that foot go. Come into crocodile once again. Stack the opposite palm on top and rest your forehead down. Deep belly breathing. Inhale, belly presses into the mat, out to the side to expand your ribs. Exhale, everything softens. And again. Two to three more rounds of breath of your deepest, fullest inhales and exhales. Deep belly breathing. And when you're ready, slide those hands back down by your sides, under your shoulders, press up through tabletop. And we'll find our way to a seated position onto our bottom. So you can cross at the ankles, you can swing legs off to one side or the other and come to a seat that way. Two straight legs out long in front of you, rock side to side, find your sitting bones. Hug the right knee into your chest and cross that foot up and over the left leg, moving into a twist. So left elbow hooks to the outside of that right knee, maybe gazing over that back shoulder, completing the twist. Come back through center. And adjusting that top leg for half Gomukhasana, the right knee stacks on top of the left. We'll add a side body stretch. Plant the right hand down alongside you. Inhale the left arm up and over. Side body stretch. Create space in between the ribs on that left side. Good. Come back up through center. Lengthen both straight legs out long in front of you. Once again, maybe shake them out, wiggle them out a bit. And we'll switch, moving into our twist first. So bend in the left knee, cross that foot up and over. Right elbow hooks to the outside of the left knee. And finding that twist in the spine on your inhales, maybe you feel length being created. Exhale, deepening the twist. Back through center, adjusting that top leg. Left knee stacks on top of right for half Gomukhasana. Adding that side bend, plant the left hand down, right arm reaches up and over, side body stretch. You can look up to the sky or down to the floor, whatever feels better here for the head and neck. Back up through center. 2 straight legs once again. Can wiggle them out, shake them side to side. Bound angle pose, Baddha Konasana. Soles of the feet come to touch, bent knees fall apart. Legs can be out more like a diamond shape, or heels can be closer to the hips. No right or wrong way to do this. You'll just notice it feels like a different type of inner hip stretch once you move there. Encouraging the knees open and out to the sides. You can certainly stay seated upright if that is enough. Or if you'd like, you can fold forward. About 2 more rounds of breath. And start to roll up through the spine here. Hands to the outside of the knees and legs. Encourage them back together through center. Lengthen out the legs. Sit up nice and tall. Moving into a seated forward fold. Inhale to reach the arms up overhead. And exhale. Fold forward. Maybe the belly touches the thighs first, then the chest, then the forehead. Reaching towards those feet. This is a deep stretch for the entire back line of the body. Heels all the way up through the legs, through the low back, all the way up through the spine, back of the neck, out through the crown of the head. And slowly start to roll your way back up here. We are making our way to a reclined position. So if you'd like string of pearls to get there, a little bit of core work, start to lower down 1 vertebrae at a time, nice and slow and controlled, engaging through the low belly, all the way onto the spine, meeting in our reclined position. For a bridge pose, heels close to hips, knees bent up to the ceiling, arms long by your sides. And on an inhale, feet firmly press into the mat to lift up hips and low back. Pressing those hips up to be in line with the knees. Legs are engaged. Glutes are working. Keep pressing feet into the mat. And start to lower the hips back down. Walk feet out about mat's width. And let those knees softly fall over to one side. And then the other, like you're windshield wipering them, back and forth. Nice and slow. Work those legs back up through center, setting up for our second bridge pose. Pressing those feet into the mat once again. If you want to try something different with your arms and hands, maybe clasping those hands underneath you. Pressing arms into the mat to help you lift higher. Legs are strong. 1 more big breath. And lower hips back down to the mat. This time bring soles of feet to touch. Bent knees fall apart. For Supta Baddha Konasana. Option to have 1 hand on your low belly, 1 hand on your chest or heart. Feel the breath move throughout you. Bringing knees back up through center. And setting up for our third and final symmetrical back bend. Bridge pose as an option again. When you're ready, lifting those hips up, feet pressing into the mat. If you want something different again with your arms or hands, maybe reaching those fingers towards your heels. Maybe they touch, they never have to. Don't hold your breath. And start to lower down from here. Walk feet out about mat's width once again. And let your knees fall in towards center, towards one another. Coming out of this, start to walk your feet back through center. For an inversion waterfall, or you might know it as modified legs up the wall. As an option, if you are near a wall, you could scoot your way over. Hips, sits bones press right up against the wall. And lifting two straight legs right up to the ceiling. Think hips, knees, ankles, all in one straight line. Let the hips feel grounded, supported by the earth, but at the same time feeling lightness in the legs and the feet lifted up. Improving our circulation here, reversing the blood flow. And start to lower the feet back down to the mat. Lengthen out the left leg long, hug the right knee into your chest. Encourage that knee out to your right shoulder. Just for a moment, little bit of a hip opener there. Moving into a supine spinal twist, let that knee fall across you. Over towards the left side of the room. Maybe the right arm extends out of your shoulder and you gaze in that direction towards the fingertips, completing the twist. Start to bring that leg back up through center. And we will switch, lengthening out long, the right leg on the mat. Hug the left knee into your chest. Through center just for a moment. Open that knee out to the shoulder, to the side, just slightly. And then start to cross it over your body, adding our twist. Gaze in the opposite direction. Twists are very cleansing and detoxifying for the body. And start to bring that leg back up through center. Moving into happy baby, or take any other movements that you would like here before we settle in for final rest. If you're taking happy baby, grabbing opposite outer blades of the feet, rocking side to side. And when you are ready, lengthening out long on the mat, taking up space, become heavy, letting everything go, finding total relaxation of the body and the mind, and taking these last few moments here to be with yourself in stillness and silence. Take rest. Shavasana. Bringing consciousness back to your breath, finding free-flowing inhales and exhales. Notice the belly and chest rise on your inhales and soften on your exhales. And start to bring movement back into the body, fingers and toes, wrists and ankles. If a full body stretch would feel nice, you can move into that. Maybe hugging knees into chest, give yourself a big squeeze. And we'll end together in a comfortable seat facing the front. So you can rock off to one side or the other and press up from there. You can rock and roll forward. Keeping eyes closed or your gaze cast down. Meeting with hands to heart center. It was my honor to guide you through your practice today. Thank you for joining me. Bringing thumb knuckles up to our third eye. And together we bow in gratitude for time on our mats and for each other. Namaste.